First Contact and Defiance. Commander Sarah Chen adjusted her headset as she monitored the deep space sensors at Luna Base Observatory. The morning shift had been routine, with nothing more exciting than tracking a few asteroids in the outer belt. She reached for her coffee when suddenly every alarm in the facility began screaming. What the hell? Chen's fingers flew across her console, trying to make sense of the readings. The sensors showed something massive emerging from what appeared to be a tear in space itself. The object was enormous, easily 20 kilometers in length, and it was headed straight for Earth. Get Director Martinez on the line now, Chen shouted to her team. Around her, technicians scrambled to verify the data, hoping it was some kind of malfunction. But the readings were clear. Something had just arrived in the solar system, and it wasn't from around here. Director Elena Martinez burst through the control room doors moments later, her face pale as she absorbed the information on the main screen. The massive vessel had stopped just beyond lunar orbit, hovering there like a predator sizing up its prey. Have they made any attempt at communication? Martinez asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Nothing yet, Director. They're just waiting. The answer came 30 minutes later. Every communication device on Earth, from smartphones to military satellites, suddenly displayed the same message. A being appeared on screens worldwide, tall and imposing, with skin that seemed to shimmer like liquid mercury. Its eyes were completely black, and when it spoke, its voice resonated with an otherworldly authority. People of Earth, the being began, its words translated into every human language simultaneously. I am Ambassador Theros of the Galactic Sovereignty. Your species has reached the threshold of interstellar awareness. As is our ancient right, we come to offer you membership in our great empire. President Maria Rodriguez sat in the White House Situation Room, surrounded by military advisors and scientists. The alien's message continued, each word driving home the reality that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. The terms are simple. Theros continued. Submit to sovereignty rule, contribute 50% of your planetary resources to the Empire, and provide conscripts for our military forces. In return, you will receive our protection and limited access to our technology. You have 72 of your hours to accept. Refusal is inadvisable. The transmission ended as abruptly as it had begun, leaving billions of humans staring at blank screens. In government buildings around the world, emergency meetings were called. The United Nations convened in the fastest emergency session in its history. President Rodriguez stood before the assembled world leaders, her voice carrying across the chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, we face the greatest challenge in human history. An alien empire demands our submission. They want our resources, our people, our freedom. The question before us is simple. Do we bow? Or do we stand? Chinese President Wei Lin was the first to respond. The sovereignty speaks of protection, but from what? They offer technology, but at what cost? Half our resources would cripple our civilization. And conscription, added Prime Minister Amara Singh of India. They want to turn our children into soldiers for their empire. This is not an offer. It's conquest dressed in diplomatic language. Russian President Dmitry Volkov leaned forward. The real question is whether we have any choice. Their technology is clearly superior. Can we afford to refuse? The debate raged for hours, but as dawn broke over New York City, something remarkable had happened. For the first time in human history, all nations stood united. The vote was unanimous. Earth would not submit. President Rodriguez delivered humanity's response personally, broadcasting on the same frequencies the sovereignty had used. Ambassador Theros, on behalf of all Earth's nations, I deliver our answer. We respectfully decline your offer. Earth is not for sale, rent, or conquest. Our resources belong to our people. Our children are not soldiers for your empire. We choose freedom. The silence that followed seemed to stretch for eternity. Then Theros appeared again, its metallic skin now pulsing with what might have been anger. You are making a grave error, humans. The The sovereignty has ruled for 10,000 of your years. Entire civilizations have been crushed for such defiance. You have 48 hours to reconsider. After that, we will take what we want. As the alien ship powered up its weapons systems, something unexpected happened. Hidden facilities across Earth came to life. For decades, the world's governments had maintained a secret. Humanity was more advanced than it appeared. In underground bunkers and hidden laboratories, scientists had been preparing for this day. Dr. James Patterson stood in a facility buried beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching as quantum field generators hummed to life. "Initiate Project Prometheus," he commanded. Around the globe, similar orders were given. Orbital defense platforms, disguised as telecommunications satellites, shed their camouflage. Energy weapons based on theoretical physics papers that had been classified for 30 years powered up. The sovereignty ship fired a warning shot, expecting to see Earth's defenses crumble. Instead, a shimmering barrier appeared around the planet, deflecting the energy beam harmlessly into space. Humanity's quantum shield held firm. Chen watched from Luna Base as Earth's response unfolded. Fighter craft launched from hidden bases, not the primitive rockets the aliens might have expected, but sleek vessels powered by fusion drives. They moved with surprising agility, their human pilots adapting quickly to three-dimensional combat. "Sir, we're detecting multiple quantum signatures," reported a technician. "The sovereignty ship is trying to break through our shield, but the harmonics are holding." What the aliens didn't know was that humanity had spent the last century studying quantum mechanics not just as a science, but as a potential defense. Earth's shield operated on principles that even the sovereignty's advanced technology struggled to counter. Ambassador Theros's next message was different. The arrogance was replaced by something else. Curiosity, perhaps even concern. "Your resistance is unexpected. Our scouts reported a primitive civilization. Yet you possess quantum field manipulation. How?" President Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Humanity has a saying, Ambassador. Necessity is the mother of invention. The necessity of keeping our freedom has made us quite inventive indeed. This is your final warning. Leave our solar system now, or face the consequences." The sovereignty ship began charging what appeared to be a massive weapon. Energy readings spiked across all sensors. Dr. Patterson's team worked frantically, adjusting shield frequencies to match the alien weapon's output. "They're going to hit us with everything they've got," Patterson reported to the president. "Our shields should hold, but we need to be ready with a counterstrike." Rodriguez nodded. "Do it. Show them that Earth bites back." As the alien weapon fired, Earth's defenders launched their own surprise. Quantum torpedoes, weapons that existed partially in multiple dimensions, streaked toward the sovereignty ship. The aliens' own shields flickered as they struggled to track weapons that seemed to exist in several places at once. The massive energy beam struck Earth's shield, causing it to flare brilliantly. For a moment, it seemed the barrier might fail. Then the quantum torpedoes hit their target. The sovereignty ship's shields collapsed, and secondary explosions rippled across its hull. Theros appeared one more time, its metallic skin now definitely showing signs of distress. "This is not over, humans. You have made an enemy of the galactic sovereignty. We will return with a fleet that will darken your skies. Enjoy your defiance while you can." The massive ship turned, tearing open another hole in space, and vanished. Earth's defenders held their breath, waiting to see if this was truly a retreat or merely a tactical withdrawal. In the aftermath, world leaders gathered once more. The celebration was muted. Everyone knew this was just the beginning. Admiral Rebecca Foster, newly appointed head of Earth Defense Command, addressed the assembly. "We've bought ourselves time, but not much. Intelligence estimates suggest the sovereignty will return within 6 months, possibly sooner. We need to use every second to prepare." President Rodriguez stood beside her. "Then let's make those months count. We've shown we can stand together. Now we must grow stronger together. I propose the immediate formation of the United Earth Defense Force, all nations contributing resources, technology, and personnel. The vote was unanimous once again. Humanity had tasted unity in the face of existential threat and found it to their liking. In the weeks that followed, Earth transformed. Hidden technologies were revealed and shared among all nations. The quantum shield was expanded and reinforced. New weapons were developed, and shipyards that had been building in secret for decades went into overdrive production. Dr. Patterson made a crucial discovery while analyzing the sovereignty weapon signatures. Their technology is incredibly advanced, he reported, but it's also stagnant. These energy patterns match theoretical models from their perspective of thousands of years ago. They've stopped innovating. While humanity never stops pushing boundaries, Rodriguez mused, that might be our edge. Chen, promoted to defense coordinator for Luna Base, oversaw the construction of humanity's first true warships. These weren't retrofitted vessels or experimental craft, but purpose-built defenders incorporating everything humanity had learned. The crown jewel was the UES Defiance, a kilometer-long battleship bristling with quantum weapons and protected by multilayer shields. Its crew was international, the best of humanity working as one. 3 months passed. Long-range sensors detected gravitational anomalies at the edge of the solar system. The sovereignty was returning, and they weren't alone. Chen counted over 100 ships emerging from quantum space, a fleet that dwarfed their previous single vessel. All stations, this is Defense Command. Admiral Foster's voice echoed across the communication network. The sovereignty has returned in force. All personnel to battle stations. Today, we show them what humanity is truly capable of. President Rodriguez addressed the world one more time before the battle. Citizens of Earth, the moment we've prepared for has arrived. The sovereignty returns with a fleet, expecting to find us cowering. Instead, they'll find a united humanity ready to defend our home. We didn't ask for this war, but we'll finish it. Earth stands free, today and always. As the alien fleet approached, Earth's defenses activated. The quantum shield shimmered to life, orbital weapons platforms charged their guns, and humanity's new fleet moved into defensive positions. The battle for Earth's freedom was about to begin, and win or lose, the galaxy would learn that humans were not a species to be trifled with. The last message from the sovereignty before the engagement was brief. Theros appeared on screens once more, its expression unreadable. Humans, you have chosen extinction over submission. So be it. Chen smiled grimly as she coordinated fighter launches from Luna Base. Wrong choice of words, Ambassador. We've chosen freedom over slavery, and we're about to show you the difference. The first shots of the battle lit up the space around Earth like a deadly fireworks display. The war for humanity's independence had truly begun. The stand for independence. The sovereignty fleet emerged from quantum space in perfect formation, their ships arranged in a sphere that surrounded Earth's solar system. Each vessel was a masterpiece of alien engineering, bristling with weapons that had conquered 1,000 worlds. At the center of the formation, a massive dreadnought commanded by Supreme Overlord Crix made the ship Theros had brought look like a shuttle in comparison. Admiral Foster stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the tactical display with grim determination. They're trying to intimidate us with sheer numbers, she observed. Count. 118 vessels. Admiral, reported Commander Torres. Varying sizes, but even their smallest frigate outmasses our heaviest cruiser. Foster nodded. Quality over quantity, Commander. Let's see if human ingenuity can overcome alien arrogance. Unknown to the sovereignty, humanity had more than just advanced weapons. They had something the Empire had lost long ago. The ability to adapt and innovate in real time. While the aliens relied on proven tactics that had worked for millennia, humans were about to introduce chaos into their ordered battle plans. The first phase of the battle began with long-range bombardment. Sovereignty ships fired energy weapons that could crack moons, expecting Earth's shields to crumble under the assault. Instead, the quantum barrier held, its adaptive matrix learning from each impact and adjusting its frequency accordingly. Shield holding at 92%, reported Dr. Patterson from his station in the Defiance. The adaptive algorithms are working better than we hoped. Their weapons are powerful but predictable. While Earth weathered the bombardment, humanity's fleet executed a maneuver that would have been impossible for the rigid sovereignty forces. The human ships scattered in seemingly random directions, each one launching clouds of sensor-distorting chaff. To the aliens' sophisticated targeting systems, it suddenly appeared as if Earth's fleet had multiplied tenfold. Supreme Overlord Crix observed the human tactics with growing irritation. Its species didn't show emotion like humans, but the rapid color changes in its crystalline form indicated confusion. "These primitives fight without formation or discipline," it declared. "Destroy them piecemeal." But as sovereignty ships broke formation to pursue individual targets, they discovered that human chaos had a pattern. The scattered Earth vessels suddenly converged on isolated alien ships, hitting them with concentrated fire before scattering again. It was guerrilla warfare on a cosmic scale. The UES Thunder, commanded by Captain Yuki Tanaka, demonstrated another human innovation. As 3 sovereignty destroyers closed in, the Thunder activated an experimental system. The ship seemed to split into multiple copies, each one solid enough to register on alien sensors. The destroyers fired at what they thought were 3 targets, only to have their shots pass through holograms, while the real Thunder attacked from an unexpected angle. "Quantum imaging successful," Tanaka reported. 3 enemy ships disabled. They can't tell our shadows from reality. But humanity's greatest surprise was yet to come. As the battle raged, previously dormant objects throughout the solar system began to activate. What the sovereignty had dismissed as asteroids and space debris revealed themselves as hidden weapon platforms. Humanity had spent months seeding the solar system with automated defenses. From the asteroid belt, massive rail guns opened fire, launching projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. Jupiter's moons revealed hidden missile bases. Even Saturn's rings concealed attack drones that swarmed toward the alien fleet. Overlord Crix's crystalline form flickered with alarm. "Impossible. Our scans showed only rocks and ice." "Supreme Overlord," reported a subordinate, "the humans appear to have masked their weapons with our own scanning frequencies. They used our technology against us." As the sovereignty struggled to adapt to humanity's unconventional tactics, another player entered the field. Quantum rifts opened throughout the battle space, and new ships emerged. But these weren't more sovereignty vessels. "Admiral, we're detecting unknown contacts," Commander Torres reported. "Configuration doesn't match anything in our database." The new arrivals were sleek, organic-looking vessels that moved like living creatures rather than machines. Their lead ship broadcast a message on all frequencies. "Humans of Earth," the message began, the voice melodious yet powerful. "We are the Silari Collective. For 3,000 years, we have resisted sovereignty oppression. Your defiance has inspired others. We come to stand with you." President Rodriguez, monitoring the battle from Earth's command center, felt a surge of hope. "Welcome, Silari Collective. Your timing is perfect." The Silari ships engaged the sovereignty fleet with weapons that seemed to bend space itself, where human quantum torpedoes confused alien targeting. Silari weapons simply ignored shields altogether, passing through them as if they didn't exist. But the sovereignty had conquered their empire for a reason. As initial shock wore off, they began to adapt. Their ships formed into defensive clusters, overlapping their shields to create barriers even Silari weapons couldn't penetrate. Their counterattack was devastating, destroying several human and Silari vessels. Admiral Foster recognized the moment of crisis. "All ships, execute Prometheus Protocol. It's time to show them our real surprise." Across the human fleet, experimental drives engaged. Earth's ships didn't just move through space. They folded it, appearing instantly in new positions. The quantum jump drives, humanity's most closely guarded secret, allowed for tactical mobility the sovereignty had never encountered. The UES Defiance materialized inside the Sovereignty formation, its weapons firing point-blank into Overlord Crix's dreadnought. Other human ships appeared and disappeared like deadly phantoms, striking and vanishing before retaliation could arrive. How? Crix demanded, its form pulsing with rage. Quantum jumping requires massive installations. No ship this small could contain such technology. Dr. Patterson, monitoring from the Defiance, allowed himself a grim smile. Humanity had done something the Sovereignty thought impossible. Miniaturized quantum technology to fit in starships. While the Empire's technology had stagnated, humans had pushed the boundaries of what was possible. The battle reached its climax as the Defiance engaged Crix's dreadnought directly. The two ships exchanged fire at point-blank range, shields flaring and hulls buckling under the assault. But while the alien vessel relied on overwhelming firepower, the human ship employed precision. Captain Chen, now commanding a squadron of fighters, led a desperate assault on the dreadnought's weak points. Human pilots, trained in video games and flight simulators since childhood, displayed reflexes and creativity that artificial intelligence couldn't match. Target their quantum communicator array, Chen ordered. Cut them off from their empire. As human fighters swarmed the dreadnought, the Silari pressed their attack on the remaining Sovereignty fleet. The battle turned into a melee, order dissolving into chaos that favored the more adaptable defenders. Then came the moment that would be remembered in galactic history. The UES Defiance, severely damaged but still fighting, executed one final quantum jump. The ship appeared inside the dreadnought's shield perimeter, so close their hulls almost touched. Fire everything, Admiral Foster commanded. Every weapon on the Defiance discharged at once. Quantum torpedoes, rail guns, energy beams, and experimental weapons humanity had never tested in combat all struck the dreadnought simultaneously. The massive alien vessel's shields collapsed, and secondary explosions chained through its structure. Overlord Crix appeared on all communication channels, its crystalline form cracked and dimming. Wait, we offer terms. The Sovereignty will negotiate. President Rodriguez's response was broadcast across the battle. Now you want to negotiate. After threatening our world, after demanding our submission, here are our terms. Overlord, leave human space immediately. Tell your empire that Earth is off limits. Any Sovereignty ship that enters our solar system will be destroyed. And spread the word, Admiral Foster added. Earth stands with any species that resists your tyranny. Your empire's days of unopposed conquest are over. The remaining Sovereignty ships began to retreat, opening quantum rifts to escape. But before Crix's dreadnought could flee, its damaged systems failed catastrophically. The massive ship broke apart, its pieces drifting in space as a monument to humanity's determination. As the last Sovereignty vessel vanished into quantum space, a cheer rose from every human ship, base, and city. Earth had not just survived, it had won. But more than that, humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage. The Silari commander appeared on the main screen, its bioluminescent features expressing what might have been joy. Humans, you have done what we thought impossible. The Sovereignty has never been defeated so completely. This victory will echo across the galaxy. We couldn't have done it without your help, Rodriguez replied. Perhaps this is the beginning of a new alliance. More than that, the Silari responded. Your victory will inspire others. The Sovereignty's subject races will see that resistance is possible. You may have started a revolution that will reshape the galaxy. In the aftermath of the battle, humanity began to count the cost. Ships were damaged, lives were lost, but Earth remained free. The quantum shield stayed active, now recognized as the planet's first line of defense against future threats. Admiral Foster surveyed the debris field where the battle had raged. We need to salvage what we can from their ships. Every piece of technology we can study makes us stronger. Dr. Patterson was already analyzing captured Sovereignty systems. Their quantum technology is different from ours, more refined but less flexible. We can learn from it. Combine it with our innovations. 3 days after the battle, long-range sensors detected multiple quantum signatures approaching Earth. The defense forces prepared for another fight, only to relax as the new arrivals identify themselves. Earth Control, this is the Varexi Liberation Fleet. We monitored your battle against the sovereignty. We come in peace, seeking alliance against our common oppressor. More ships arrived over the following weeks. The Korvathi Resistance, the free worlds of Zetra, species that had suffered under sovereignty rule for centuries, came to Earth, drawn by humanity's successful defiance. President Rodriguez addressed the assembled representatives in the United Nations building, now expanded to accommodate non-human dignitaries. We didn't seek this war, but in fighting it, we found something greater than victory. We found community among the stars. The Silari ambassadors' bioluminescent patterns pulsed in agreement. The sovereignty ruled through fear and isolation, keeping subject species separated and weak. Humanity's resistance has shown us a different path. Together, we are stronger than any empire. Thus was born the Alliance of Free Worlds, with Earth as a founding member. The quantum shield technology was shared with allied planets, creating a network of defended systems the sovereignty couldn't easily attack. But humanity's greatest contribution wasn't technological. It was the spirit of innovation and adaptation, the refusal to accept that any problem was unsolvable. Human engineers worked with alien scientists, combining different approaches to create hybrid technologies neither species could have developed alone. The sovereignty made several more attempts to subjugate Earth, each time meeting stronger resistance. The empire that had ruled unchallenged for 10 millennia found itself facing a growing coalition of free worlds, all inspired by humanity's example. A year after first contact, Ambassador Theros returned to Earth, but this time it came alone, its ship bearing symbols of truce. The being that had once demanded humanity's surrender now stood before the United Nations with a very different message. I come not as conqueror, but as envoy, Theros began. The sovereignty acknowledges Earth's independence and seeks peaceful relations. The war has weakened the empire. Subject worlds rebel, inspired by your defiance. Supreme Overlord Crix's death created a power vacuum. Different factions now rule different sectors. President Rodriguez studied the alien diplomat. What are you proposing, Ambassador? Coexistence, Theros replied. The old ways are ending. The sovereignty must adapt or face dissolution. Some factions wish to continue the war. Others, like mine, see the futility of fighting those who refuse to be conquered. We propose borders, trade agreements, cultural exchange. The negotiations were complex, but ultimately successful. The galaxy was redrawn, with free zones established where no empire could claim dominion. Earth became a symbol, a reminder that freedom was worth fighting for, and that even the mightiest tyranny could be resisted. Years later, historians would mark humanity's first contact with the sovereignty as the beginning of a new galactic age. The age of empires gave way to the age of alliances, where cooperation replaced conquest as the dominant paradigm. Admiral Foster, now retired, stood in the Galactic History Museum on Luna, looking at a display commemorating the battle for Earth. Young humans and aliens on a school trip listened as she recounted the events. The sovereignty thought they were dealing with primitives, she told them. They forgot that every species was once young, once innovative, once burning with the desire for freedom. Humanity simply reminded the galaxy what that felt like. A young Silari student raised a tendril. Admiral, why did humans fight when surrendering would have been easier? Foster smiled. Because easy isn't always right, because freedom is worth any price, and because sometimes the smallest candle can light the way through the darkest night. Humanity chose to be that candle. As she spoke, she looked through the museum's viewport at Earth, hanging serene in space, its quantum shield a faint shimmer in the darkness. The planet that had refused to bow now stood as a beacon of hope for all who valued freedom among the stars. The galactic sovereignty still existed, but it was no longer the monolithic power it had been. Some sectors had embraced reform, becoming constitutional monarchies where subject species had representation. Others maintained the old ways, but knew better than to threaten alliance worlds. On Earth, the changes were profound. United by external threat, humanity had set aside ancient divisions. The planet's government evolved into a true global democracy, with resources shared equitably among all nations. The technologies developed for defense were adapted for peaceful purposes, ushering in an age of unprecedented prosperity. The quantum jump drives that had turned the tide of battle now carry human explorers to distant stars. Earth's ships, crewed by humans and aliens working together, mapped new worlds and made contact with species still unknown to the wider galaxy. President Rodriguez, in her final address before retiring, captured the spirit of the new era. We reached for the stars, and the stars reached back with a closed fist. But we opened that fist, not with submission, but with strength. Now we extend our own hand in friendship to all who would take it. Earth is no longer alone, and neither are any who stand with us. The story of humanity's defiance spread throughout the galaxy, told in different languages and different forms, but always carrying the same message. Freedom is not granted by empires, but claimed by those with the courage to demand it. Years turned to decades, and Earth's influence grew, not through conquest or coercion, but through example. Worlds that had never known anything but imperial rule began to experiment with democracy. Technologies were shared freely among alliance members, lifting entire civilizations out of imposed stagnation. The sovereignty, forced to compete with the alliance's collaborative approach, gradually transformed. The rigid hierarchy softened, subject species gained rights, and the empire became something resembling a federation. It was still powerful, still proud, but no longer predatory. In a cosmic irony, Ambassador Theros eventually served as the sovereignty's representative to the Alliance Council on Earth. The being who had once demanded humanity's surrender now worked alongside human diplomats to maintain peace between the two power blocks. During a quiet moment in the council chambers, Theros approached the aged President Rodriguez, now serving as an elder advisor. "I have often wondered," the ambassador said, "what would have happened if humanity had accepted our first offer?" Rodriguez smiled, her eyes still sharp despite her years. "We would have been another subject world, our potential limited by your empire's vision. Instead, we changed the galaxy. Sometimes, Ambassador, saying no is the most important word in any language." Theros's metallic skin rippled in what passed for amusement among its kind. Indeed, the sovereignty spent 10,000 years learning how to conquer. Thanks to humanity, we're finally learning how to coexist. As the diplomatic reception continued around them, both human and alien looked out at the night sky through the chamber's great windows. The stars that had once been the domain of a single empire now hosted a community of free worlds, each one a light against the darkness. The quantum shield still surrounded Earth, no longer needed for defense but maintained as a reminder that freedom must be guarded, that vigilance is the price of independence, and that sometimes the smallest world can change the course of galactic history. Humanity had not just survived first contact, it had transformed it into something greater. Where once there had been only the choice between submission and destruction, there was now a third path. Cooperation among equals, unity in diversity, strength in freedom. The galaxy would never be the same, and Earth wouldn't have it any other way. As the story of humanity's defiance passed into legend, one truth remained constant. When the galactic sovereignty had come to Earth demanding submission, humanity had looked to the stars and declared with one voice, "You are not welcome here." And in doing so, they had made themselves welcome everywhere else. The age of empires was ending. The age of alliance had begun, and at its heart stood a small blue world that had refused to kneel, proving that courage, innovation, and the unbreakable human spirit could indeed reach the stars. The future stretched before them, vast and full of possibility. New challenges would come, new threats would emerge, but humanity would face them as they had faced the sovereignty, united, determined, and free. Earth had taken its place among the stars, not as a conquered world, but as a beacon of hope. And across the galaxy, on worlds that had found their own freedom, children of 100 species looked up at the night sky and knew that somewhere among those distant points of light was a planet called Earth, where beings called humans had shown them all that freedom was possible. The story was far from over. In many ways, it had just begun.